All right, we're back once again for your late night insightful wisdom from Farmer Hajj to God. I said it first. Speaking of which, we have our first official sighting of an I said it first bite on my, I believe it was Monday show. I talked about how libertarians have half of the equation right, but they only focus on big government. Meanwhile, progressives only focus on big business, but it's a distinction without a difference. Then the next day on the Hill, Crystal Ball, who I like their show, basically said the same thing. So thanks for watching, Crystal. Keep watching. I said it first. I don't know how much politics I'm going to get into tonight. I'm going to focus more on my rants. I have more philosophical things to think about. I watched the last show and noticed I said the word right a lot. I promise to do better. That's my, you know what I'm saying. I'm going to try to not do that so much. So I was thinking about mulligans. And when does a man get a mulligan? And by mulligan, I mean abortion. Where's our male abortion? Now, obviously, we can't literally have abortion. We don't have the biology for that, which is ironically a female privilege, if you will. Yeah, it's a burden that you have to bear children, but you can also get rid of them. And can't nobody say that to you, at least nowadays. So I was thinking, wouldn't it be fair if men were allowed to abort their relationship to a child? Not be a deadbeat or anything, just early on in the process, when you're first confronted with the notion that you might be the father of this child, just be like, abort. And more importantly, I know it sounds absurd, but think about it. Whatever argument you can make against that option, an anti-abortion person can make that option against a woman's right to choose, right? Take care of responsibility. If you didn't want to raise a child, you shouldn't have had a baby. You had a baby. Well, I'm sorry, but that argument is the same argument that you can make for a woman having an abortion. And let me just be clear. I'm not pro-choice. I'm also not pro-life. I'm pro-abortion. And if you can't say the word abortion or makes you uncomfortable, perhaps you shouldn't be pro-choice either. I have no problem with it. Abortion lowers crime. Unwanted babies go to prison. Those are facts. You can look that shit up. Like my mom used to say, look it up. I would present the evidence for you, but fuck all that. It is true, though, that there are longitudinal studies that can correlate Roe v. Wade and the age those folks would have come to being, like the years after Roe v. Wade, lower crime. And honestly, why is it anybody's business? So just to be clear, so somebody doesn't think I'm some, male chauvinist trying to tell women what to do with their body. I'm not. Kill all the babies that you desire to kill. It's not my business. Likewise, I don't think every man who's set up or makes a bad decision should have to necessarily be on the hook for 18 plus years in support payments. You're allowed to make mistakes. And I just wish that more women's groups in particular, or just more people on that side were more inclined to extend that option to men. Right? So in exchange for supporting your right to choose, shouldn't you return the favor and support our right to cop out. Food for thought. I want you guys to think about that. I appreciate your comments. I still don't have the comments things working here, so please do comment so maybe y'all can talk to each other, but I can't see them because I was stressed out today. Speaking of which, on a very stressful day, I had to work. And I don't know what's wrong with me, but like I'm over work. I don't want to do it anymore. It's beyond lazy. Like the whole idea of doing something annoys me so much. I feel like I should be retired by now. Oh, by the way, woo! I was supposed to bring the little things. What do you call those things? Those party things? Woo! They're going like this. Woo! Well, imagine I have one. Today's my birthday. I'm officially 48 years old, which means I'm fucking 50, basically. 50. 48, but fucking 50. I would have never thought I would have made it to 50. And then at 50, 48, but 50, I'm just as silly as I was when I was 12. Like, when does the grown up thing kick in? When am I going to be a little bit more mature? Because I don't see it happening. I just smoke, so I got cotton mouth. I wanted to expand upon what I said the other day about being a business friendly socialist. Right, well, I think I'm on something there. I'm kind of workshopping it right now, but I'm gonna see if maybe you guys can help me through this. So essentially, I look at it like a sports metaphor, right? The whole relationship between the government, the citizen, and the businesses, right? I said, right, let me stop that shit. The government is the coach, and we're all on the bench. No, not the coach. The government is the referee. No, hold on. No, the government is the coach. The people are the players. The referee are the government agents to do the regulation. Okay. Now, I want the government to let me in the game, meaning start a business. But once I'm in the game, I want it to be reffed fairly and tightly. Because a poorly refereed game, that's how, if you're a Jordan fan, the more skilled players, the skill don't shine through when you let the brutes take over. So you need good refereeing to keep shit fair. So that's why I see regulation on the backside being a good thing and make sure the game is refereed right. But I need to be in the game. So I'm opposed to all regulation that is unnecessary to the inception of new ideas and new businesses. But I'm all in favor of making sure companies don't dump chemicals in the river. Things that would, give them unfair advantage or harm others. So I think that's the right mix, is to like want small business to succeed, but then also be heavily regulated, aka a pro-business socialist. And also I think, this gives me another, I digress. I saw this movie. Really fucked me up. It's kind of disturbing. It's a documentary called, you guys should check it out. I highly recommend it. It's not well made as far as cinematography, but just the message is something I don't think I've ever heard before in a movie of this nature. So essentially, the movie's called Planet of the Humans. Michael Moore has something to do with it, but it's not a Michael Moore film, I don't think. It's definitely not shot like it is a documentary, but it doesn't have that Michael Moore like flair, entertainment value. It's a movie about the environment, but not what you're thinking. It's not a typical, the whales are dying and this is what you can do about it. It's a real bleak picture, which essentially is saying that there's nothing you can do. But not from some conspiratorial right wing perspective saying like climate change isn't real. It's not saying that. Climate change is very real. But what's not real are the solutions that we've been sold. For example, solar power, wind power. All of it is a con, according to this guy who's a hardcore environmentalist. There's collusion. So essentially what he's saying is that environmental groups and big business got together and have colluded to give people false hope whilst making tons of money. Al Gore, Sir Richard Branson, Pat Kennedy, all these people who are icons in the environmental movement, what he's suggesting are con artists. And the scientist guy, this young guy, he's like super nerdy and got all these facts. He was basically saying that it's better to drive a gasoline car than the infrastructure that's being implemented to bring along electric cars. Because behind the scenes, behind this electric that we're doing, is all fossil fuels, coal mainly, still coal. And where they make it green, they burn timber. So he's like, if you want to focus on one thing, that's fine, but the ingredients that go on these batteries for the cars and your cell phones, for that matter, are being strip mined whatever place in Africa, and it's ruining the planet that way. And when you need this electrical solar panel array to do X, first of all, the ingredients in the solar panels are all super harmful to the planet. And then the electrical grid itself is still undergirded by fossil fuels, even these new ones. And here's the little bait and switch. The dirty little clean little secret, because according to them it's clean, is natural gas. That buttresses every new development, every new power plant, everything is natural gas. Even if they say it's solar, it's natural gas. You got to watch this movie. It was highly illuminating in that sense. So the implication, or what I infer from this movie, is that human beings are the problem. It's kind of like The Matrix, when the dude was like, humans aren't mammals, we're a virus. And the problem is it's not just humans, it's human consumption, in particular growth. And what they say is, what they try to correlate is capitalism being kind of behind it all, because at the root of capitalism is a mandate for growth. Meaning that if your business did great, let's say your business made $1 billion last year. If you're making $1 billion this year, you're a failure, because you are intended to grow. And as things grow, not only does the population grow, and as consumption grows, then it overwhelms the system. There is no solution. And what they're arguing, there could never be a solution other than containing consumption, and by extension, population control. At least that's what I took from it, is that at the end of the day, there's got to be some sort of Marshall Plan on, like, I was thinking, the nighttime kind of, after, they didn't say this, but this is one of the things I was thinking from the show. A couple quick ways we can reduce consumption that might be healthier for us as a species. Lights go off at night. You get ration power. So from whatever sunset, more of a circadian kind of clock, where you wake up when the sun's up, you go to bed when it gets dark, like humans did forever until the Industrial Revolution, essentially. That would save tons of power. When it's sun, all you have is like candles, or maybe you can have like you're allotted enough power for your refrigerator to work. But other than that, you can't be doing shit like this. Right? I'm a hypocrite, but it ain't just me. Look at New York City. Like, why do you need lights? Then you can't see the stars. You can't see stars. That's why when you go that's why people like camping. You like smelling the pine and you like seeing stars. But if we cut the lights off, we see the stars. And you save all kind of power. The other thing you can do that's even, I think, more practical, look at the Rona situation. Like fucking Mother Nature done came back out the closet. Why? Because people stopped driving. And most of us don't need to drive. We drive because the person is, it's like misery loves company. Nobody wants to be in office, but everybody goes because you got to go. But did things stop working other than places people congregate out, like because you're not allowed to? Has your office-based business suffered at all? Because if it hasn't, that proves the case. It is unnecessary. Likewise, here's the other thing I was thinking about: abolition. Sorry to digress. Abolition. I wanted to bring a person I know. I'm not even going to say her name because she's also well-respected, woke, feminist, brilliant. So I don't think she wants to be associated with me. I think she likes me as a person, but you know, I say some things that are off color. But we align on a lot as well. One of those things, well, I don't know a lot about this, but I'm interested in it. We align on a lot of things when it comes to the power structure and things of that nature. But she's also involved in this thing called the abolitionist or abolition movement, where we all come to know abolition in a specific context, vis-a-vis slavery at that certain time, like it was just then. And they've extended abolition, and if I'm wrong, you know you are. Come be a guest on the show. You can apply that in a lot of ways. Jail, for instance. The modern abolition movement wants to get rid of jail. And there was in the 70s, you can look it up, like my mom used to say. Maybe one day I'll put links in at the end. Who knows? There was a movement towards the end of prison. And I actually started reading a book too. It was called, damn, what was it? It was either the 13th something or it was Ghetto Side. I think it was Ghetto Side. It was a good book. Y'all should check that out. But that shit all ended with Reagan. Reagan came in and said, y'all squash all that. Y'all niggas going to jail. I lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah. So the Rona situation has got us, at least for me, has opened up a lot of topics that were either dormant or just you never thought of before. But people who would otherwise never consider letting people out of jail en masse are now like, do we need pickpockets in jail? Because everybody in that prison is going to get the Rona. And eventually you got to let them out. Then they're going to make people sick. So is it not better for society to let all the people that don't really need to be in jail out? And that's like regular conservative people. And then like the abolition people go a step further and be like, well, nobody needs to be in jail. And if you think about it, nobody does, especially with monitoring technology. The function of prison is vengeance. And not only every religion, but also science would tell you that it does nothing for the survivors. Now, I'm not there completely. Like somebody, God forbid, did something to my family, then, you know, I'm on vengeance. But if somebody, you know, egged my house or did property damage, I would be okay with other forms of retribution. Do they need to go to prison? And I think, you know, again, don't quote me on this. I don't have my facts right. But I believe something in excess of 80% of prisoners are nonviolent. Matter of fact, I'm certain of it. I think 80% of prisoners are nonviolent drug offenders. Some way disproportionate number. So what utility is that to society? Because one thing Rona should have taught us is that the chickens come on the roost. Quite literally, in a sense, as we gluttonously seek greater and greater and cheaper sources of meat in particular. And I'm not a vegan, but I'm just saying, and we treat the animals like shit and they get sick, then we get sick. So you can think of the same way about how we treat prisoners. Like nobody gives a shit about 23-hour lockdowns. That's not a thing any of y'all worried about. Because ain't nobody talking about it. But every study, and you can look that up too, definitively says that that is a form of torture. So everybody, and it's the same way, and I hate to go back to Biden again because I was trying not to talk about Biden tonight, but the same way we wax, just hysterically over Kavanaugh, because I think it's a good contrast, Kavanaugh versus Biden, because they're so recent. It was hysterical with Kavanaugh, and I think he did do it. But like I said before, even if he did do it, what he did was lesser than what Biden did if he did do it. But it was hysteria for Kavanaugh and silence for Biden. And fuck. I was just talking about, damn, I'm going to have to digress on that one. See, that's what notes are good. Oh, speaking of which, I switched up. I put my notes on paper. This is the technology that I'm using. And I know you're probably saying, well, nigga, that's not technology, but actually it is. And I was thinking about these spoiled ass Silicon Valley developers, whatever you want to call them. They not that, they ice ain't colder. They're not that bright. Like software, and I'm in the software business, so to speak, management consulting, IT consulting, whatever you call it. But when you have like an old version of something, a phone, or that's all basically just a housing for software, the people who develop that product look at you like, why are you on version 2.2? We're at 8.6. Like, motherfucker, you built it. That was 3 years ago. Why you got 5 versions in 3 years? Shouldn't this still work? But do you think about real engineering, think about like the pyramids, which black people built, by the way. Like that shit was built to last forever. Like the GC on that contract because they boss, how long these rocks? Nigga, ever. They got to work forever. We don't build shit like that. Paper. Think about it. And where did my pen go? Oh, I don't have it. But like paper and pencil. There used to not be paper and pencil. Then one day, a nigga came in the cave and was like, look. And they was like, what? The wheel. That's technology. Technology is not just things that are electrified or motorized or silicone based. So paper is actually at times just the best technological solution to the problem you're trying to solve. I'm trying to live stream. The technology here is limited because I can't open up any other windows. Therefore, I need another computer to look at something I can just write down on paper, which to me is more efficient. There, I said it. So I'm going to look at this paper and think about anything that I could say. Oh, yeah. I feel like one of the main, hopefully I remember what I was talking about earlier, but you never know. One of the main things I want to stress on this show on a regular basis is that we're watching the wrong thing. We focus on the wrong thing. Trump farted. That's a whole hour of news. But who cares? The biggest story of last year should have been the biggest news story of my life, or at least the last 20 years. And it got a week's worth of coverage, maybe a few magazine covers too. But I'm going to go back in time a little bit to that college admissions scandal. Now, a lot of you probably like, which college, which one? Or it's old news already because we all have collective ADHD. But that college admissions scandal was central to almost every political decision throughout most of my lifetime. I remember how affirmative action was literally the issue in several major political campaigns. The whole notion was that somehow, essentially, black people were getting in easy vis-a-vis racial preferences, and poor white people are not getting the seats that they should have. But in reality, there's several layers to this story, several layers to this whole thing with college entrance, and this story helps illuminate, at least starts to point us in the right direction. The game was rigged all along. It wasn't that black people were somehow gaming the system. It was what it always was. Rich people. Didn't matter if you're black or white. If you got money, you get into school. Period. So everybody who earned it, quote unquote, didn't earn it. We delude ourselves into thinking that we're somehow more qualified. Qualifications don't mean shit. Intelligence is so varied that trying to reduce it to a test is foolish. So many countries have already eliminated standardized testing. I believe Finland has. I want to say England has. Or Great Britain. And they seem to be doing okay. And America didn't used to have an SAT. Why now? I think they probably started doing SAT when people who weren't wealthy started thinking about going to college. Right? I said right. Let me stop doing that. What does it even measure? Because the real scandal that I learned as a parent who now put a kid, I got one kid in college, and I got sucked into this vortex of SAT testing. And the more money you pay, it's the more bump you're getting your score. And that's facts. They got this shit down to a science. Every little kid who comes from a wealthy background or an upper class background with that 15 plus 100 score in SAT bought it. SAT is a measure of wealth and disposable income. That's it. It has no purpose. Anything that can be gained by financial means should not be a bar or a measure for the intellectual capacity to succeed at said school, whatever school. And there's so many different kinds of intelligence. Do I, as a school, want all the 1,600 SAT people at my school? I wouldn't. You watch the National Spelling Bee. All those kids are probably going to grow up to have over 1,500 SAT scores. And that doesn't mean shit. Would you want your school full of those kids? A bunch of nerds? You need the quarterbacks. You need the slackers. You need the painters. You need diversity. I'm not talking about pigment. I'm talking about skill sets, thoughts, abilities, tendencies. And that's why I think these Silicon Valley companies, that's why I think they suck. Right? They're very good at what they're one thing, but from a workforce standpoint, it's all young white dudes and Asians who clearly, have limited experience in relationships. How many of y'all's fucking phone has got you caught up? Why? Because none of these guys are getting no pussy. Nobody's got a wife and kids and they're cheating on their wife. I mean, I don't know about you, but why the fuck are my text messages on the computer? Who does that help? I might want to be able to send some. I want none coming in. And then this iCloud shit, it just all happens automatically. Next thing you know, the kid's looking at you. My point being that if somebody else who maybe was not so nerdy, who lived a different kind of lifestyle that maybe a lot of you do, would be like, hold on, cuz. You mean to tell why I want my text messages to show up on the computer? I need like facial recognition. When y'all invent facial recognition, then you could do that. Otherwise, nah, I don't need that. That's lack of diversity. Diversity in media. You look at CNN, MSNBC, all their panels. Yeah, they have gender and pigment diversity, but they all think alike. I bet they all got college degrees, if not master's degrees. That's not a good thing. Every job doesn't require a college degree. Having your finger on the pulse of America, understanding the needs of the average American does not require a college education. It requires understanding of those situations and empathy, which apparently none of them have. They were all just taken aback by why Bernie Sanders was so popular and had so much support. Well, they can't understand that because they don't live that life that would appeal. They don't live that life where a Bernie type candidacy would appeal to them. The status quo works. They have good jobs. They got equity. They got money. So Bernie wants to upset the apple cart, but they don't like him. He affects their position because they lack diversity. Not pigment, but policy positions. And I hope on this channel we get to see that there's not one way of black thought. I forget the dude's name, but that dude on NBC with the chin strap beard, I can't stand him. I haven't watched TV since, or political TV since Bernie dropped out. I just don't care. It's not that I will be angry if Biden wins, but I don't care if he wins. I'm not voting for him. I don't have a vote this election. I think the real value or the real mission at hand for all of us that are disaffected, those that don't vote, who really don't give a shit about politics, and those that are really into it, that are so disappointed with the choices, it's third party time. And it can't be some like, don't even do it this time. Lay the groundwork this time. Have the meetings. Start planning. The American Farmers Party. We need to link up with the Working People's Party or whoever. We got to come up with an alliance, both politically and through the media. You got to allow for impure people such as me to join the team. Right? I'm not going to stop cursing. I'm going to keep saying nigga. I just am. That's just how I talk. And some of that might offend people. Some of my positions on things like, oh, here's another one, polygamy. I digress. I forgot to mention this when I was talking about abortion. Okay. Gay marriage. Are you in favor of gay marriage? No, I'm not. Are you against gays getting married? No, I'm not. I'm against the framing of the question. I believe adults should do whatever the fuck they want to do so long as they're a sound mind and body to make that decision. So here are some caveats. You can never marry somebody you helped raise. I don't give a fuck if they're related to you or not. That person can't make that decision. So that's why I can square I'm against all incestual kind of hookups, because I don't think that's a choice. I think the brain is not developed. You can manipulate people. It's just kind of icky. So yeah, even as an adult, you can't make an informed choice. But two niggas can make an informed choice. They want to go be gay together and get married. I don't have a problem with that. Two women can do that. A man and women can do that. That's their business. Also, a man and two women can decide they want to have a triad. They want to be in a polygamous situation. A woman can have two men. I don't care. It ain't my business. Y'all can swap wives for all I care. But if you're against polygamy, whatever argument you make that stands in opposition to polygamy, I can take that same argument, put a different label on it, and make that argument against gay marriage. Tell me I'm wrong. See, logical consistency is like religion for me. You can have whatever position you want. You can be hardcore Me Too feminist. Like, I think her name is Rowan McGowan. And I respect her because she's consistent. She's on this Biden shit just like she was on the Kavanaugh shit, just like she was on the Harvey Weinstein shit, just like she was on the Cosby shit. She's been consistent, right? But for these these women, let me stop saying females, who are selective with how they approach a problem, not you can come to a different conclusion, but even the approach is completely different. Well, then you're a con artist. So it's the same thing with polygamy. If you're anti-polygamy, then just be anti-gay marriage. And if you're pro-gay marriage, you should be pro-polygamy. Facts. And speaking of wife swapping, I think, here's my conspiracy theory. All right. I think like the mafia or any criminal enterprise, typically, it's kind of like a blood in, blood out. Like you have to commit some sort of crime, and therefore the group has leverage over you. We know you won't snitch because you got dirt on your hands too. That's old school. But I think the same thing occurs, but in a perverted sexual way with the powerful elites that run this country, maybe Europe too. I think all these dudes be fucking each other's wife or doing some weird shit. And that's why they don't snitch on each other. That's why Biden, he raped that lady and they know it. And Hillary Clinton came out and endorsed him on Women's Day. But her husband raped somebody. And that's okay. So they have something on each other. They have to. And you see a lot of these couples, rich people, and particularly in politics, they look weird. They don't look like regular people. Like I think they do weird eyes wide shut shit with goats. I know it's a little conspiratorial, but I would not be surprised if they had some sort of leverage on each other because you know weird things are happening. I don't want to get too Alex Jonesy, like my man said, but I wouldn't be surprised. Like I know some people know some things about Biden, and you know just dirt on Trump. You know Bloomberg and Trump used to hang together, and Bloomberg had way more money than Trump. That's why he tried to run for president, just because in their little secret clubs, Bloomberg was a bigger dude than Trump, so he was going to try to dun him, but he couldn't get through Elizabeth Warren over that sexual harassment shit, who happens to also endorse Joe Biden and side on Biden. So it's a circular thing where I think, I don't know. I'm not clear on my conspiracy theory yet, but I think something weird is going on. Oh, I have a correction from the other week. The Prophet Muhammad did not actually smoke marijuana, but during his time, they smoked marijuana like the Sufis. If I'm saying that right. Okay. Oh, new segment. Next week news tonight. So seeing how this is the I said it. Give you next week's news. Oh, damn it. There we are. We're back. This thing's very finicky. The NBA will be back come May. You heard it here first. Maybe not, but I ain't heard nobody else say it, but I haven't been watching anything either. This was going to happen. Now, what I have heard, when they were talking about coming back, they're all going to play together and be in Vegas. Here's what I believe is a first prediction. How the fuck do I... Can y'all hear me? All right. They're not going to go to Vegas. They're going to go to LA. I said it first. You know why? Vegas is wholly dependent on tourism. And as the country starts to open up, they're going to be far more willing or reluctant, say it the other way, reluctant to keep their city shut down because they need that money for those casinos. And the NBA playoffs ain't going to be enough because they're not going to bring fans. So Vegas is going to be Like, look, y'all can play the games here, but people gonna be coming. And the NBA's like, nah. Now, California, on the other hand, got in front of their situation pretty early, and as a consequence, thanks to, give them credit, Gavin Newsom, they're doing better than a lot of other states relative to their population size. So they don't really need tourism, and the people there are already in a sort of routine where they're already not doing things other than what they're allowed to do, and their numbers seem to be under control. Two of the top teams are already there, and that's where they play. So really, you just need another 14 teams. If you go full playoff, they might have bridged that somehow. Maybe just take, 6 in the top 2 teams in each bracket get a bye. Right? I said right again. But I digress. So yeah, there's plenty of hotels. Why not California? And then you got outdoor space. People go to the beach, kind of, socially distance effectively there and still be in a good spirit. So, Farmahaj to God. I said it first. The NBA will be back sometimes in the May, early June. You're going to start off with, they're going to get to 70 for that TV money. So I think they're at 63 games now. So look for 7 regular season games. Playoffs start. May or may not be in a bridge version. They'll be hosted in LA. All the teams will play in LA. I said it first. The other thing, Biden will address the Tara Reid situation by next week. Here's why. This is kind of like, Biden is similar to Trump in this way. They are very effective at lowering the bar. Nobody expected Biden to be worth anything by that third debate because he was so bad in the first 2 debates. It was like, this guy is like off his rocker. Remember before he was a presumptive nominee, they were like, when's Biden going to drop out? And they tried to boost up Amy Klobuchar and Mayor Pete. You remember that? That wasn't that long ago. Now he's just all, he's the president. Get out of here. So with regard to the Tara Reid situation, what they've effectively done is antagonize the progressive left and the right media, but right now I'm more focused on the progressive left, antagonize them enough to the point over the fact that he's never even so much as been asked a question about the Tara Reid situation. And they collectively, being the progressive left, have focused on how Bernie and AOC and Biden supporters have all been asked, but not Biden. When's he gonna respond? Okay, that's all you want is a response? Because he's about to give you one. No, I ain't do it. I don't know that bitch. That's effectively what he's gonna say. And then on top of that, he's gonna say, I know Hillary Clinton, she likes me. I know Gloria Steinem, she likes me. It's the opposite of guilt by association, whatever the opposite of guilt is. He's going to have all that. And then he's going to look at some legislation, Violence Against Women's Act. I don't know what his relationship is to that, but he keeps talking about it. Like, I've heard him say that a million times, And he'll talk about his wife died. He's a good guy. Story goes away. But what I would say, if I had a voice and people were listening to, I don't give a shit if you respond or not. I want hearings. I want the same thing they gave Kavanaugh, whatever that is. A witch hunt, whatever you want to call it. I think it was good. And I don't think Kavanaugh should be a Supreme Court justice. Not because he did whatever in high school, because he didn't cry too much. You can't be no crybaby like that. Like, you got mental health problems. You can cry, but you can't cry over your dad's diary or whatever the fuck he was crying about. That shit was just weird to me. So yeah, I think public vetting is good. And I think once a story gets to the point where it's credible enough where it needs to make the news, well, then the accuser needs to be able to face the accused. For both of their sake. Like, just imagine, like, I've never been accused of rape before. nor have I raped anybody. There's a reason for that. Now, if all of a sudden I became famous and somebody came out the woodwork and say, oh, Farmer Hodge, the guy raped me, I'm like, no, the hell I didn't. I'd be running to the microphone. You couldn't keep me in no basement. I don't give a shit if it was the Ebola and Rona had a love child. I would be out in front of the microphone, no mask on. That bitch lying. Okay? How many people you know have been accused of rape? And this nigga's been accused not just of rape, but of like multiple grabbing, touching, like kissing. People act like kissing's not a big deal. Who the fuck kisses somebody without the permission? First of all, why would you want to? Like, what's so big about kissing where you want to wrestle somebody and kiss them? That's just stupid to me. Like, who does that? And we know he did that because it's on video. So you got a serial kisser, like rough off kisser, been accused of rape, and it's been corroborated contemporaneously by now 4 people. Not of the rape, but of the retelling of the story. Back then, not like last week. And y'all don't think that's weird? So anyway, I got off topic, but next week or before next week, by next week, so maybe on the Sunday shows, maybe Friday, they'll bury it with a news story or some bullshit interview. A friendly reporter is going to say, Joe Biden, there's been a lot of talk in the news about Tara Reid. What do you have to say to supporters who blah, 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 blah? Can you shed any light on this? All I'm going to say is we do need to listen to women and blah, 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 blah. But we can't just convict somebody in public. I don't know that I had a lot of staffers and I might have met Tara before, but I'm sorry for this young lady. This did not happen. I don't know what she's trying to gain, but I can guarantee you I did not do it. Story goes away. Why? Because the bar has been lowered such that all he has to do now is respond. That shouldn't have been the ask. The ask should have been a public hearing, just like Kavanaugh got. Oh, here's my other prediction. So this was about to happen. The economy's about to open up, right? Damn it, I said right. But that don't matter. You open up the economy, who's going to a restaurant? So if nobody goes to the restaurant, that means the waitresses and the bartenders don't have as much work. If they don't have work, they can't go to Six Flags. If they can't go to Six Flags, and people work at Six Flags can't go to the movies. If they don't go to the movies, people go to the movies. Can't go to the massage parlor. Do you see what I'm saying? The economy is a house of cards. And it's all dependent on people being in close proximity to one another. And putting their hands on each other, on their food and all that. So the only way to actually open the economy is to have readily available, rapid result tests. And the thing is, you knew that immediately. So all this talk about, I get it, ventilators are important, but we had so many little, different paths we've been on the last month and a half. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask. Masks are the worst thing you do. You better have a mask. Put rubber gloves on. No, it just spreads a disease. Use antiseptic soap. Don't do that because of MRSA and bacteria, antibiotic resistant bacteria, whatever. Where you keep getting all kind of different messaging. But to me, it was clear from the beginning. Wasn't nothing going to really fundamentally change, at least in the short term, without tests. So go make tests. Stop everything. Focus all of the manufacturing capacity of this country to make tests. Because if you have a test, then the quarantining can make sense, or the isolation and the separation. Because right now we're just making shit up. And I don't know what my conspiracy is exactly. I believe the coronavirus is real, but I also believe that powerful people are using this just like they did 9/11 to consolidate power, or at least to condition us a certain way. Like I think democracy for the most part ended as we know it with the Patriot Act. I think that changed everything. We're still a democracy, but I don't know that we ever were, but it's definitely more of a democracy. And then now you got the Rona. So on the one hand, so what I look for, like I told you earlier, consistency. And I criticize Biden a lot. Let me get on Trump. And Trump, I made you that deal yesterday. It still stands. Somebody reach out to me, hit me up on social channels, political consultancy for hire. And I think as black folks in particular, we become more powerful when we sell our votes. But we got to sell it for a package, right? Pause. We got to get something out of it. So we need to get more gangster and hustle more to vote and stop being the adopted love child of the Democrats. They don't own us. But let me criticize Trump. On the one side of his mouth, he's been talking consistently about opening the country up. He's been very clear about that. First of all, he thought Corona was a hoax. Okay. Then he got convinced because people started catching it and dying. All right, so he's been on the team. And now he's like, all right, it's about to warm up. We need to get this money going because if this economy stays like this, even Joe Biden can beat me. Right? But then the other day, the same person who thinks it's a hoax bans immigration because of the virus that is no longer a problem because they open up the country. That is the most incongruent pretzel-like logic I've ever heard. How's that 90-day ban going from the military? He's what, 307? Well, shit, more than that. A couple years since that ban. I think it's still around. But I thought you don't need it for 90 days. I'm old enough to remember 2016 or 17, whenever that was, when you put that order into place or attempted to. You needed it for 90 days because you got to, what do they say, get a hold of this thing. But now it's just, same with the Patriot Act. Wasn't it supposed to sunset? But nah, it's just baked in the cake now. Tax cuts. That's the thing. People, Obama's a lot of y'all Jesus. He's the Democratic Jesus. Well, the two things, the worst things that were done under Bush, Obama re-upped on. He didn't have to. The Bush's tax cuts and the Patriot Act. They could have been killed by Obama. Nope. He liked them. So who you got to go to? Like, who is the... I'm trying to look at my notes while I'm talking to you. Oh, yeah, I got a story to tell. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I could probably talk about this one all the way to one. I'm going to get another hour in. All right. I'm actually quite proud of myself. I didn't have a lot to talk about today. I just had rants. But me and my man Ron was talking tonight. And I was telling him about how after 5 years now being post-marriage, me opening it up to the possibility of taking another run at it, right? Damn it, I said right again. And he was telling me that I have to not be he didn't say not be so selfish, but I don't like to compromise. And I start thinking about that, and I push back a little, but there's some truth to that. But I think the counterbalance to that is you have to be honest. And what I've learned about myself is just things I don't like. And I've been learning more and more about myself. And as I get older, I give less of fucks about whether or not this one particular situation will work out. What's more important is that I live in truth. That I express myself, and you can deal with that or you can't deal with it. That's your choice. But because what's the word I'm looking for? Because I put so much emphasis on my freedom, my ability to make my own decisions, I'm very hesitant about committing to different situations. And little things become big things. So one of the things I realized about me is I don't like when women don't finish their food. So I took a woman with me to Hawaii a few months back. And that was the worst thing I could have ever did. Because Hawaii was beautiful. But this bitch was getting on my nerves. Like, I didn't even want to fuck her. I was like, could she just leave? So what blew me was, in addition to a lot of other things, but the thing that first got me off track, was this bitch would want to go eat at the fanciest restaurants, order every meal, like, you know, an hors d'oeuvre, fucking soup, then the lobster, and then the dessert, and wouldn't finish none of it. but not only not finish it, like complain about it, like eat lobster and take a bite, like the lobster is already cut. Like, oh, this bitch is a food critic. I can respect that. But then on the way home, she wants to stop at Wendy's. What? Bitch, if you eat Wendy's, we're going to Wendy's. Right? You're not going to get up on top shelf ship on my dime. If you drink Boone's Farm, keep drinking Boone's Farm. If you eat Wendy's, we ain't going to no restaurant. We're going to Wendy's. I don't eat Wendy's. But I will surely take you to fucking drive-thru and you get all the goddamn shakes and french fries you want. Because you a Wendy's hoe. You don't even know what good lobster is. Wasn't overcooked. You just never had lobster before. So now I know that about myself. So I asked the people. So now I'm getting close to this person. I say, hold on, wait a minute. When you go out to dinner, do you finish your food? So anyway, there's a lady in Idaho who got arrested, and apparently it's funny. If any of y'all seen it, please send me a link. I heard about it. I haven't found the story yet. What else is in the news? Oh, one more thing. Last thing. So I mentioned that movie earlier, Planet of the Humans, which I really think... Oh, two more things. I digress. So back to Planet of the Humans. The one thing I forgot to mention was where I want to disagree a little bit with the filmmakers is, I think there could be a technological solution, but it has to come from outer space. Meaning that the equation of everything, kind of one thing eating the other, is based on the finite resources that are contained here in Earth. But if we can have an external source of resources, that could fundamentally change the equation, like a true alternative power source. Like there could be new minerals that maybe there's this much of a meteorite that we can burn that emits no CO2 and just emits pure oxygen. You know, that could exist. Or potentially, if we figure out a way to have a big mirror up in space that could somehow harness the power of the sun and cut a hole through the atmosphere and power a big receiver of some sort. I said it first. If somebody steals my patent, that's patent number 007. But you get it though? If you can funnel the sun into the planet through mirrors and lasers or some shit, that could be clean. That could be true clean energy. Because there's no real manufacturing that have to occur. Right? Just pump that, like pumping lightning straight into the electrical grid. And then, fuck, what was the other thing? Oh, was it Parasite? Yeah, Parasite. So yeah, Planet of the Humans, watch that, and watch Parasite. Parasite, I've watched it now like 5 times. And I'm starting to, every time I watch it, I realize this is not only just a good movie, it's a profound movie. It's affected me deeply. One of the things is, I want to learn how to speak Korean. Because especially that girl, the daughter, the part of the Khan family, the con artist, like poor family, when she would whine and talk, like, and I was thinking they should add trap beats to that and call it K-trap. I said it first. If they come out with K-trap, I need my royalties, y'all. As far as to God, I'm about to sign off. I'll be back tomorrow night if I got some shit to talk about. All right, y'all. Be easy.